Okay. Hi. Hello. Welcome to Humor Me. I'm on my period, so I'm on the floor, and I'm just, I'm just feeling it. And so I was like, you know what? I just feel chatty today. So I'm gonna talk. I haven't even journaled. This is what I'm doing instead of journaling. We're gonna pull some tarot, and I'm gonna talk about things that are on my mind. Okay. Number one thing that's on my mind: numbers. Okay. I want you to think of an artist that like you feel like you only listen to, and I'm gonna be blanking because whenever I do this, so I'm just gonna pull up my Spotify. Like, what's something that I feel like I listen to more than like the average person? Let's see. Okay, now I'm realizing I'm probably pretty mainstream, but like, okay, I'll like find a new artist. Say I know I just added a yes, Montclair. I just found them. So like in my head, like when I just discover somebody that's just in my world, but like in my world, I just discovered them. So I have found them. They are now famous and successful, and other people will hear of them. But no, I found them, and then I was having like a conversation with Cole, and we were talking about like who listens to artists with like the smallest number of listeners. And so yeah, this album is by Montclair, and the album is called "Heart Is Alive!" exclamation point. It's amazing, and I want to shout them out super hard, Montclair, because they only have 6,065 listeners, and I say they only have, and I hate that because I don't mean they only have. I mean 6,000 people listen to them monthly on Spotify. And that's objectively amazing. And also, numbers are crazy. And like 6,000 people, that's a full concert, you know? And like, okay, where's another one of my favorites? Ava Swan. Ava Swan has 1,511 monthly listeners on Spotify. And I think that's a crime against humanity, for one. And two, I also think that's insane. And Ava Swan, I think when I found you a year ago, almost like exactly, whenever you let out Baby Got Spoiled, you had, I think, like 500 or 700. So congrats on like doubling in a year, Ava Swan, if you're listening. But then I was like looking, and like, right, when you look at like a bigger artist, but like even still, like, I don't know, kind of middle, like Maggie Rogers is someone that I think in my head, I'm like, oh, she's so like indie, and like no one listens to her. She has 7.3 million listeners a month. That's crazy. That is an incomprehensible number for me. That's wild. Queen Herbie, let's see, 700K. That's so many people. And like when you think about that, that's like how many people are in a normal sized city? Like, what's the population of Cleveland? Let's see. Cleveland. Population. 372,000. Queen Herbie has more listeners monthly than the population of Cleveland. So if every person in Cleveland called two friends, called one friend, and had them listen to Queen Herbie, then that would be the total number of listeners. Like, isn't that such a crazy thing? 700,000. But then that seems crazy. That number seems again incomprehensible. But then you think about like the population of like New York, or the number of listeners that Maggie Rogers has. 7 million. 7 million. Million. You know how many zeros million is? That's 6 zeros after. So 7,000,000,000. But people have money in the billions. So billions is 9 zeros. 0,0,0,0,0,0,0,0. Lady Irene Kibbens. You don't always have to be the star. And like that's how much money. Like, so like the amount of dollars that we have is more than the people in Cleveland. more multiplied than I can even think of, or the number of people who listen to Maggie Rogers. And it's just crazy to me how numbers are so like comparable numerically, but not like in value because of what they are. Like 7 million people admiring my artistry is so much more powerful and amazing and empowering, I guess I want to say, than 7 billion trillion dollars. Like, and yet so many of us just strive for that. You don't hate Mondays, you hate capitalism. If you guys haven't listened to Upstream yet, if there is anything I can influence you to do, it's to listen to the Upstream podcast. But I think a lot about that, like capitalism, and even like with neurodivergence. My brother-in-law and I were talking about that, and like we always wonder, like, what is a neurotypical? What is that? Because like there's part of the theory that feels true of like everyone is neurodivergent in some way. And sometimes I feel that like the people who are deemed neurotypical then are the ones who, one, don't look into themselves to find their neurodivergence, and two, are the strongest at fighting against their neurodivergence. So like they just are the best at only working in the way that society has programmed us to think is like the right way, which I don't feel like is a win. But then like you think about like someone like Elon Musk, who, I don't know if this is like verified, but I feel like people have said he's autistic. But he's arguably the most successful person in the world in the way that he's got how many children with how many women, how much money, how many businesses, he's got everything. So that would mean that like being autistic, you could be the most successful person in the world, in the way that the world and society have deemed correct. So would that just make him super neurotypical? And like, you know what I mean? I hope that doesn't sound out of line. I'm just like musing of theories. Again, I have no idea. The word neurotypical seems so strange, because then I've also, my sister-in-law has shared an incredible view of that it's not about, everyone's not neurodivergent, and that really brings a kind of like, I don't want to say, it kind of devalues neurodivergence and like delegitimizes the struggles and stuff like that. And I believe that there's also a lot of truth to that. So I guess it's good that two things can be true. But I just write, like, if the most successful man in the world in the neurotypical, which is like societally correct way, but also neurotypical is deeper than societally correct. I guess that's the factor. But I guess it just means you can still kill it and be neurodivergent or whatever. Although he sucks. Don't aspire to be that, please. Dear God, he sucks. Irene. This cat is amazing, but also so annoying. So then the other thing that's been on my mind a lot lately has been time. Numbers and time. Isn't it crazy that it's the end of May, which means it's like halfway through the year? That doesn't seem possible. I am someone who March and November are my longest months. March and November take forever. They drag, and they always have heavy things. Now, not necessarily like traumatic or even like super difficult things, but just like heavy. They're just like very depleting months. Makes sense, I guess. It's like the holidays, and then March is like the sad gets me. But it just, yeah, like I think about my dad telling me when I was a kid that like time moves different when you're a parent and when you're an adult even. I hate when like my parents are true. My parents are right, but they were with that. Because I do feel like it even has something to do with Phoebe and like being a parent now. That time just feels different because my days are different. And I love this cat so much. It's so crazy. I never thought I'd like a cat so much. I used to think I hated cats. But yeah, so like I'm working through this book, The Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo, and I brought it because I wanted to share one of the days. But I was looking at it, and yeah, I'm like halfway through, and so then I was like, oh, duh, like I'm halfway through the year. I'm halfway through this. It's an everyday devotional, which is not like a Bible thing. I always thought the word devotional implied like religious or secular, and or non-secular. Secular. I always mix up that word, and I don't think it does. Anyways, it's not like it's, yeah, this is just like it's got like daily meditations, and I think of it as like a devotional to myself and my like growth. So anyways, it was, yes, it was, May 26th was the day that this was the quote by T.H. White. "The best thing for being sad," replied Merlin, "is to learn something." The best thing for being sad is to learn something. Now I'm going to argue that's the best thing for being sad, for being mad, being glad, being scared. Like, whenever we feel those hard feelings, whenever I feel those hard feelings, I really, really try to remember to just get curious. A question my therapist has been asking me a lot, or having me ask myself, is, how does this serve you? And asking that without judgment. Like we've been talking about trying something called TMS, which is like I don't know, some magnetic therapy thing. And she asked me, like why I want to do that. And at first my answer was, oh, like to help whatever, because another part of that conversation that I had with my psychiatrist with the TMS was the possibility of like ketamine treatment. And while it sounded really interesting, I just was like, when my therapist asked me, I just was like, why do I want to do this? And I realized that the reason I was more tempted to try those things, while I do think they have a lot of benefit, and I would not be opposed at all at some point to trying them, but I do believe that part of the reason, or I if I'm being honest with myself, and I'm re-listening to myself, a part of myself said, you want this because it's a quick fix. Like, it'll make it easier. It'll help everything. And then I just kind of realized, like, okay, then no, that's not going to work for me right now. Like, that's not what I need. I want to get curious. I want to ask questions. I want to learn something. And I'm not saying that those things, those treatments are not, you don't learn anything from them or anything like that. I just simply mean that the time that when I should turn to something like that is when the answer is, this is my only option, not, oh, this is an option. And, another thing my therapist was talking about was like, are we not doing enough in therapy? And I just remembered, like, no, I love my therapy. I love doing our parts work and stuff and the EMDR and like that piece of it. And so then like I write, like not that I would have been leaving her, but it just would have been like a process that I would have done with a different doctor who, like, that's what they do. And so I was like, just realizing that, yeah, I would have to do this with someone, like, it wasn't right for me. Anyways, all of that quote, I read it. The best thing for when you're feeling sad is to get curious. And I thought about last year and how last year my mindset was, when I get scared, get curious. And that line of, when you're sad, learn something, that it came now at the end of May, when it's so close to when that original thought of when you're scared, do something, be curious. Last year, what that looked like was being curious about my true self, how I truly work best, not how I mask and force myself to work. And to learn that, like, it took a lot of asking and getting curious about myself. And I did a lot of trial and error and a lot of reintroduction. And I even killed a part of myself symbolically of like it was this beautiful thing. And so this weekend I was I was having a hard time. I was feeling like that overstimulated, that the only thing I can compare it to is like the feeling of when you're like something's so hot it feels cold. It's like you're so overstimulated, you feel numb. And it was Phoebe crying. I know crying is supposed to like ignite something in a mother, and it does in me. But it is like tenfold, like, and it's not at her. It is not. I I hate sharing this because I feel like it's going to make me sound like a bad mom, but I really hope that if you're listening and one, you haven't had kids and you're thinking about it, like I'm just being raw and honest and real with you, that there's going to be days when like they just cry, and you know that if you're already a parent, but you probably need the reminder, like that there's just going to be days when they cry. And it is so hard for me not to hate myself when I have to make her cry. Even if it's like for safety, like there'll be times when I'm like, okay, no, Phoebe, you can't touch that because it's hot. And truly the people pleaser in me, my OCPD, will like tug and be like, oh, but she wants it and she's going to be upset. Like, so like, how can I make it so that she can do what she wants to do? And obviously I never follow through and let her play with something hot. But what I'm saying is that I have that like internal struggle. And again, that's a part of these thoughts that I struggle with that are constant. And it's funny, I think it was like the next day, because it was today's no amount of thinking can stop thinking was today's thing, and to follow that up. And I just thought it was like perfect because goddamn did I need that reminder. Irene, if you come in here, I have my squirt gun if she starts clawing again. But yeah, I was feeling a lot, and I was getting those overwhelming thoughts, those overwhelming feelings. I was just getting like, it was just so much. And when I get like that, I have a history with self-harm. And so that is like an internal reaction. I've been working very hard to rebuild those neural pathways, and it has been 4 years since I have hit myself. And that actually sounds really cool to say out loud or to even think about. But those are the moments when it was late at night. We were getting ready for bed. It was just like, she was tired. So she just was like in that mode of like crying, which they do. And that's the thing, is like, I tell myself, there's that one voice in me that's like, yeah, kids do this. Like they just cry. But then there's the other part of me that's telling me that it's my fault. And sadly, that part is very good at what she does. So I get like, yeah, these really conflicting narratives in my brain that overwhelm and just spiral together in a tornado. And so I had that feeling. Luckily Cole was able to take over with her, but like the only thing I could do was like just get in the shower at that moment. And I was like in my pajamas, and I just got in the shower and turned the water on like hot, how I like it, and just laid there on the ground in the shower. And I wasn't even crying. I just laid there with it running, and like I just listened to the water, and I felt the water, and I just needed that grounding, like that like visceral grounding. And it helped. But then, right, the 26th or whatever, that was the day that I read that quote. So that would have been the next morning, or maybe it was Sunday morning. And it made me think of that moment, and I got curious about that. Like, God, I felt at the time, my thought was I felt so sad. And I did. There was a part of me that felt sad. It felt grief. But really what I felt was numbness. And I wouldn't have realized that if I hadn't sat with it and like thought about how it felt. And I kind of started doing that before, immediately after or the very next morning. But I kind of get like these blocks, and I forget that I'm allowed to do that. And I'll, again, that I want to call it the people pleaser in me, but it's not. I want to call it its real name, which is my obsessive compulsive personality or disorder piece. She doesn't know how to sometimes stop spinning and stop pleasing and stop making an outcome that I think is what like is perceived to be best. And the hardest part about that is that there is no, like, I'll be asked, like, who's perceiving best? And there is no answer. There's no, like, entity of, like, what it is that I have this standards in my head that I have of, like, who I'm supposed to be. But I do. Holy fuck do I. And so I'm going to get curious about that. Last summer I got curious about my fear. This summer I'm going to get curious about my sadness and my grief. And I'm excited because I haven't really worked with sadness and grief since 2022, really. That was my focus of then. And not that and it wasn't, strictly January 2022, December 2022. But it was around, the time that I had my miscarriage, and I kind of learned what grief was in the truest sense. And I did not get curious with it then, though. My first reaction was to get ignorant, and then I got angry at it, and then I sat with it. I accepted it, and that was incredible, and it allowed me to go on and plant my Oliver tree for my baby, my son that I think I lost. I know I lost, but I didn't know the gender. So I planted a willow tree, which was something that Cole and I we both loved willow trees, and we decided that at some point, we had talked about trees, and when we moved out here to this land, we were like thinking about what to plant, and we both were like, oh, we like willow trees. And so it was just like, it just felt so right. And it was so healing to have that kind of a moment and put that grief into something that I can love and care for in this way. And that, we planted him kind of on top of a little hill so that he can watch Phoebe grow up. And this year I was able to put like a table and chairs under it, and I planted sweet peas that'll like hopefully vine up around the table and chairs, and we'll sit under it, and I'll tell her about it, and I'll let her help me get curious about it. It's so funny how miscarriage is thought of, or not even thought of, is spoke of. Not spoke of. But I really want to talk about it with Phoebe because it is so real and so common. It's so fucking common. It's so common that I almost feel like oh yeah, I'm just another one of I'm one of the ones who had one. But also I'm like, yes, I'm a person who's had a miscarriage. Like, it sucks. It's a club to suck to be a part. That sucks to be a part of. But there's so many of us that, like, those of us who have healed, and we come together and we speak about it, and we're healing through it. There is I hate the word pride, but I'm blanking on something better. So there is a pride to surviving. A survivor's pride, I guess. And I find so much solidarity in my mom's. So much solidarity in my mom. And I have friends who don't have kids who have been incredible through my journey of becoming a mother. And then I have friends who don't have kids who left me not because I became a mother, but because it changes a person in ways that can't be stopped. It's the most, like, organic shift, and also, like, it's like a nanosecond of, like, once they're in this world, I guess it's also not every time a baby is born. I have a friend who, she just had her second, and she's been feeling a mom guilt of, like, not connecting. She had with her first, they're both girls. She was like, oh, I know you, and I am your mom. And now with this new one, she's like, you hate me? How is that possible? God, but that's also the realest feeling, because who doesn't feel sometimes like their kid hates you? Again, I don't let Phoebe burn herself, and I'm like, she's gonna hate me forever because I tell her no. And that's not true. It's so not true. Okay, we don't need to ramble anymore. Let's pull some tarot. this up so you're not looking at my pussy. This is my favorite tarot deck ever. And my first. Mystic Mondays Tarot. I feel like there's a way that I could do this. I don't know, I'm just going to set it down instead of keeping moving it. I'll set it down and I'll squat like a gremlin. You know that feeling when you like open your tarot deck and it's like the spiritual horny? You know what I mean? Like it's still in your vagina, but it's the power, not wanting it. Yeah, I love my tarot. I'll say that. Also, I'm not going to tell you like my spread or anything. I really just do. I just let them come to me, and typically I do like a 3-card, you know. I guess I'll tell you, yeah, I do. I'll do a 3-card, like past, present, future, lessons, things to carry with me, with us. But like I also, I don't know, I've been doing tarot now for 5 years, so like so much of it is not thought, it's just like doing that. Like I'll be in the middle and then I'll just be like, hold on, I need one more card. I love that the colors are so complementary. That's so funny. Ooh, I like this, and I think we will pull more. All right, 2 of Pentacles. Abundance is infinite. That's obvious because of the infinity sign, but it's also cyclical in a way of give and take, and there is balance to it, and it is not monetary. Abundance is everything. And remember, it's always coming back. 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 Didn't know how much I needed that reassurance. Lessons from the past, am I right? King of Swords. Okay, this is what I meant with the... If you're watching the video, then you'll know that these are like the exact same color schemes of like blue and pink and purple and green. And so I think that is funny, especially because our last card is like loud red and orange and yellow. So like they're very opposing. But anyways, Knight of Swords. Oh, he just brings me like a reminder of that this fight before us, this life fight before us, is hours and hours alone. We're the only ones who carry our intuition. We're the only ones who know the weapons that we have to bring to our battles. And I don't mean obviously like war. I'm talking about our personal battles and our interpersonal battles, intrapersonal battles. You know, when we step into them, when we step into our battlefield of love. Love is a battlefield. Oh, Pat Benatar, what a woman. When we step into our battlefield of love, when we step into, you know, battle for ourselves and battle, even sometimes for me, what that means is when I step into a conversation and I battle to speak my truth. I'm battling my internal difficulties of doing that, the parts of me that want to put down what is mine, what is my truth, what I need for whatever the other person needs. It's for me, that's what the Knight of Swords is really reminding me of, is that I am the only one who can say these things that are my truth. And so I have to do that. I have that responsibility to do so. And when I trust myself and when I trust my experiences and what I've learned and what's brought me to where I am right now, today, in the present, I will be able to do that. And I have a tongue that's a sword, and I will get there. And then the fact that our last card is the Chariot, which is, you know, a ride into the sunset. It's a journey that we are all on, and it is not an ending ride into the sunset. It's a ride into the sunset at the end of the day, knowing that tomorrow is a beautiful new day coming. The sun will rise again, and we are going to honor all that we did today. And it is okay to do that and to take our evenings, take whatever that is, as time for rest, time for realignment, time for celebration of what we have done and who we are. And the fact that we waited for our abundance to come back to us without stress, and that we trusted ourselves to speak our truth and to do so in a way that is kind and that gets our point across without confusion or obstacle or barrier. Those are the same thing. The Chariot just reminds us that we can take those moments for pause, and we can do so without guilt, because God damn it, do we have to. Holy fuck, is there a lot on our plates these days, and it doesn't matter who you are. I think that's another thing I've been trying to remember, that if you've ever seen Into the Woods, it's one of my favorite shows, and I love the line in the last song. I now know things. Mother cannot guide you. No one is alone is the name of the song. But basically the essential thing of the song, the young boy lost his mother, and whatever, the person singing the song to him, and it's like, mother cannot guide you. No one is beside you, only me here. And then it's talking about who he's battling, and that's the giants, because it's Jack and the Beanstalk. That's his name, Jack. And so there's a line, there's the second verse is all about how, someone is on their side. They are not alone. Everyone has somebody. I started this whole thing talking about numbers, and it's so true that we touch so many more lives than we think, and those of us, then there's people who we see as against us, whatever, but they have whole lives, and they're not alone, and everyone has their own entirety beyond self. Wow, I don't really know what inspired that or why I started talking about that, but I loved it. There's a reason I'm a writer. Yeah, I feel a bit better now to go on with my day after this. I've been feeling that numbness. A girl in group therapy was talking about that too, how she's just been feeling it. I'm feeling it, Mr. Krabs. And she's not alone. I'm not alone. You're not alone. No one is alone. I guess I'll just end it there. That seems kind of perfect. I hope you have a good day whenever you're listening to this. If it's in May, when we're about to enter the second half of our year, if you need it to be the first half of your year, you do that. You do you, boo-boo. But just be kind to yourself. Be gentle. And get curious. Let's learn something. We're feeling it. Let's learn about it. Thank you for always helping me. You're a good friend. All right. I love you.